When it comes to Batman's secret identity, one of the questions that fans and creators like to ask that it's kind of fun to play with is who knows? And this can get particularly interesting when one enters the villain space. Which of his villains know? What does that mean? And one character for whom this question has long been asked, with /4, is Batman's archnemesis, the Joker. Stories going one way or the other, or trying to provide evidence for why it would be one or the other, have been going on for quite some time. Decades. And time of recording, we're back in an era where the Joker knows, and they're kind of playing with what does that mean? Now, for a lot of people, the question becomes, does the Joker know or not? Should he or shouldn't he, just in general? My question is slightly different. It's a follow-up question to the, if the Joker does know, then what? Those notes they used to leave on the side of essays and the like, and question mark. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and it's actually a casual discussion video. I don't know how that happened. Actually, I do know. It's because of Batman #7, which was a really fun issue, and it got me thinking. That's the 2026 Batman #7, because they've relaunched a few times, so we need to be specific. That's my editor's note. Now, that issue 7 of Batman saw the Joker returning to an active role. The regular Joker, Joker Classic. You gotta specify, because with the Absolute Universe being around and doing so well timed recording, they recently unveiled the backstory for their Joker, the Absolute Joker, Joseph Grimm. So sometimes that kind of thing can pull a bit of focus, but also it's just funny to think about Absolute Joker versus Joker Classic. Also, side note, that Joker definitely better know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. If that Joker has all of Batman's wealth, resources, has been alive for longer than the average lifespan, still has that kind of interest and obsession with Batman because he's different, he's bucking the status quo, he has no excuses. He better figure it out. If Alfred can, then so can Joseph Grimm. Maybe he's already found out and doesn't care. Which is one of the tacks that is sometimes taken with stories where the Joker does know Batman's identity. It's one that I gravitate towards that I think works best, and I'll get to why in a bit. But first we need some examples, some history, some groundwork. Now when this kind of knowledge is played with, then one needs a reason why the Joker doesn't act on it. One of the reasons that is often given is that he's more invested in the game, their relationship, and that relationship and game is between the Joker and Batman, not between the Joker and Bruce Wayne. Because unlike Batman, the Joker has one identity, one persona that he's playing with, although sometimes there'll be kind of different iterations of it, or if you're dealing with 3 Jokers, 3. However, because Batman has been going on for so long, and you have so many different creators who have different ideas as to what can make this fun and appealing, you'll see that sometimes this moment can be revisited over and over for that kind of cathartic gasp, he knows that he's Bruce. You can get that out of Bruce himself and out of the reader, because then you have that shocking moment where Bruce realizes that his greatest enemy knows his greatest secret.
And the dear lad began to share such secrets with me, secrets that are mine alone to know. Bruce.
The reaction to this is something that people like to play with. How does he take it? Afraid? Angry, stoic. Sometimes he'll project stoicism. You'll see that in like Batman the 3 Jokers. But that story also had just a bunch of things going on. You saved the man who killed Thomas and Martha Wayne, who sent Gotham and you spiraling into the drain of despair. You saw the old regretful sad sack chills become. You felt his pain and it gave relief to yours. I healed your greatest wound, so now I can be your greatest pain. Me. Now this version is playing with answering the question of the then what that comes with the Joker knowing. The Joker must then in some way take action. That seems to be the general belief. However, some of the answers that the Joker should do nothing. That tends to come coupled with the idea that the Joker cares more about Batman than Bruce Wayne, and that to approach him as Bruce would shatter the illusion or the game that they're playing in his mind. It also can be presented that him knowing and thinking that he may be one of the only ones or keeping it to himself makes him feel that their relationship is more special. Although it's also been played with that other villains know but don't do anything about it. Deathstroke is one that they play with a lot. The Riddler a little bit. The Riddler you can probably make the easiest argument for why he doesn't tell, because that would spoil the riddle for everyone else. Also, it'd make him feel real superior to know. So many people probably know, actually. We're all operating on the honor system. Now, when the Joker is meant to do nothing, sometimes that's also paired with the idea that he figured it out fairly early on, which isn't hard to get behind. He's meant to be highly intelligent, observant, and as time has gone on, more and more obsessed with Batman. If one takes their time and applies it to just studying Batman, it wouldn't be that hard to figure out. But that idea again comes back to that attacking him as Bruce would serve no purpose. Sometimes people use the fact that Joker has talked about how much he loves the game between him and Batman to justify or kind of strengthen this position. You'll see him talk about this in issues like Batman 251, which is a famous issue from 1973, because that's the issue where the Joker is returned to his more golden age roots. He comes out the gate killing, whereas before he hadn't been used as much in the Silver Age, despite the popularity of the Batman 66 TV series. And when he was very jokey and silly. Definitely not the same. But upon his return, people were dying. This story is by Denny O'Neil without by Neil Adams. And here you have the Joker saying things like, no, without the game that the Batman I've played for so many years, winning is nothing. He shall live until I can destroy him. properly. This story, actually, the ending portion of it, they took and combined with the laughing fish to create the laughing fish episode, because this is the one that ends with the shark tank and him comparing himself to a shark and all that. However, for some, the idea that he wouldn't do anything just doesn't fly. Not just from a character perspective, but from a narrative one. If a character knows something, they should do something about it. Otherwise, what is the point of them knowing? And here we get into the various types of ways that people have played with it. One of the earliest examples I remember seeing and could find upon looking back, although there may be earlier ones, but this one really stuck with me, it's from A Death in the Family, the story arc where Jason Todd dies. In Batman 429 from the year 1989, A Death in the Family Chapter 6, written by Jim Starlin, art by Jim Aparo, inks Mike DiCarlo, colors Adrian Roy, it happens after the Joker has set himself up as an Iranian diplomat. He sees Bruce at the embassy and they have this exchange. He's stopped. What's he staring at?
Does he recognize me? Does he know who I am? I may never know. I'm feeling a terrible sense of finality.
The panel of him laughing as he walks away is just cold. This is also interesting to see in the context of what the relationship has become, wherein you see Bruce's side of not understanding the coupling. They're not quite at the level of obsession that they're going to be later on, although usually the obsession is more one way than the other, which I think makes sense. This story plays with the idea that this recently even more darker than usual Joker, after he murdered Jason Todd, that he's been using this knowledge to hurt Bruce to goad him on as Batman. And the story leaves the question, like at the time Joker's life status, open.
That's the way things always end with the Joker and me. Unresolved.
Now, as mentioned, as time has gone on, the obsession element has been ramped up, particularly on the Joker's side, and this can sometimes play into how he responds to knowing that Bruce is Batman, or just some of the actions he takes in general. You'll have moments where it appears that the Joker is jealous of Batman's supports, playing with the idea that this knowledge would have to lead to some kind of endgame. Pun sorta kinda intended, you'll see why later. Kinda treating it like knowing would signal that there's a coming end to their battle. The DCAU takes this tact a little bit, with Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, which presents a tale where the Joker goes much too far. It's way overtly darker than the usual DCAU fare, in that he captures and tortures Tim Drake, and in that process, he gets Batman's secret identity out of him. That's the clip that I shared from earlier on. However, interestingly, in this reality, they dodge the what next question because the Joker, the true Joker, doesn't really get the chance to do anything with it because he dies. But even when he comes back, what we see is that it's more used to mess with Bruce's boundaries. It's kept pretty personal and insular, although that's easy in the DCAU universe because Bruce ends up alone, but it's still very much used to psychologically mess with him.
Your old eyes do not deceive you, Brucey. After all, who know me better than you?
This is very different than, say, the later Harley Quinn TV series, that subverts this a bit by playing it as a joke.
Wayne Tech promised an electric car by this year. I put a deposit down. Where's my goddamn electric car, Bruce?
This ends up kind of playing into the other viewpoint, the idea that it kind of takes some of the fun out of it. And then the series goes on with this knowledge present, but this series has much more of a comedic tone. On the knowing front, you'll have some cases that try to have their cake and eat it too. Yes and no. We have this during the death of the family in New 52. This is during the Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo Batman run. This is during the Joker has taken his own face off era. He cut it off. Not a cutting off your face sound. In this arc, the obsession was dialed up to 11. But at the end of the arc, after Joker kidnaps all the Bat family, pretends to cut their faces off, we have Bruce talking to Alfred about how he went at one point to visit the Joker in Arkham as Bruce just to see if he actually knew or not.
I found this. I think it belongs to you. He looked right at the card, Alfred, and right at me. But he didn't see me. He didn't see me at all. It was then that I knew that he didn't care who I was beneath the mask, and never would. Knew that he was incapable of even broaching the subject of Bruce Wayne. It would ruin his fun.
However, then later on the Snyder run, during Endgame, issue 37, we have Bruce trying to call Gordon on the phone, where he's called Bruce by the Joker. Things have gone back and forth and back again, and they will likely continue to do so. You have him taking his mask off behind Batman and Batman 680 during the Morrison era. You have plots where this will be integral to it, like Batman Telltale in the second part, The Enemy Within, where you see this play out with Bruce Wayne and John Doe, where him knowing directly impacts the game.
What do you need your bat suit to really get you in the mood?
What?
This game did some really fun things though, like flipping the Harley Joker dynamic. It's just a fun game in general. Let's jump forward a bit to 2018 from Batman Secret Files 3. Here we have Joker enlisting Deathstroke, and he says, no, how about I tell you a really good joke? Have you ever heard the one about the billionaire who runs around dressed like a bat? You know, I'm surprised. Oh, I could have known a long time ago. If I wanted to. It wasn't the game I was playing. But time moves on, things change. I know now. I don't plan on forgetting. I know a lot of things people think I'm too crazy to know. It's useful. However, then we'll hop down a little after that to the Zdarsky Batman era in 2024, where you still have him knowing he'll have a whole conversation with Bruce. But in this one, it's presented almost like he views the two as separate entities, like Bruce and Batman are split personalities from each other, which, given what was going on in that run, makes sense, because this was during the whole Zur-En-Arr split off and was in a separate body. That Zur-En-Arr arc just kept on keeping on.
You've known about Zur this entire time.
You've only showed him to me twice before, but he was beautiful. The real you. Breaking you is easy. Breaking him, that would be a true triumph. See, that's the most interesting idea to come out of this exchange, that the reason he leaves Bruce alone is because it would be really easy to destroy him, because he has simple, understandable hopes, fears, and dreams with his family and the like. However, Batman is something separate. That's what happens if you view them kind of separate like that. I love this, being here with you as you spiral, because you're here and he's out there, playing with your toys, doing a better job than you ever could. The true Batman. And you're here with little old me. Just another criminal, another madman. And then we get to skip down to another era, 2026, the time of recording era. People sometimes ask why I say that. It's because people will watch later and not check the date. It happens all the time. This era is interesting in that it's kind of a light reboot, but not really. It's just a relaunch of numbering with a different kind of tone, but all the important things have continued on. It's very much still a continuation. It's not a New 52 situation. In this issue, Bruce has to go visit the Joker to get some information out of him in his rehabilitation tank. This is part of Dr. Zeller's whole, we could reform them, we can make them feel empathy. I'm not a villain, except I probably am. I hope she's not. A quasi-Batman / Bruce love interest who is not evil. It's been years. Now, during this, the Joker gets her to cut off the kind of feed for 30 seconds, or at least that's what she says. We'll see in the future. But so they can talk independently, privately. Someone's coming to kill you. I don't know who, and I can't stop it.
I'm Batman. People try to kill me all the time. You've discovered it's Tuesday.
No, you don't understand. Someone's coming to kill you. Bruce. This one is also interesting because it's doing what this run has purported that it was going to from the start, which is that's trying to marry a bunch of different things together. We're still in our trying to have our cake and eat it too, but in a kind of subtler way. Here we're potentially marrying the idea that he knows, won't act on it, but also since Batman is important to him, he can't let Bruce Wayne be killed since Bruce is Batman, even if he doesn't care that much about that side of him. That side of him still needs to exist so that there can be a Batman for him to care about. So this one has them back to they're the same person. It's not a separate thing like what was going on before. This latest Batman run has just been really fun, and issue 7 in particular had some gorgeous splash pages. They're just so nice to look at. Also, my husband has fun doing the lines with me. It's a good time. This is the Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez, Tomomura era. Now, there are more examples. This is by no means comprehensive. This wasn't an every time the Joker has figured out Bruce Wayne is Batman. That's for somebody else to make, and I'm sure somebody has or is going to. The point is to demonstrate that there is not a consensus as to what should be going on. In that even when the idea seems to be that the Joker knows Bruce Wayne is Batman and we're sticking to it, there's still that question of the now what? How does the story proceed? Does it outright ignore it? Or does it have to lead to some kind of giant bombastic action? Or is the best route to make it some kind of floating question, a way that allows you to bring it in and out? Because if not, one has to contend with Bruce not at least attempting to Joker-proof his life in some way, especially after Jason. To me, that leaves one in the Joker knows but doesn't care kind of territory. And you can potentially add in a little scoop of keeps forgetting because he's unstable or addle at points. The reason? Because comics are designed to be a forever story, meaning that while things move and change, respond to cultural norms and shifts, there are still key status quos that people expect and love / want to see. And the Joker knowing and caring, just based on the narrative structure and flow of stories, would indicate that some kind of dramatic action needs to take place, and one that could potentially, if big enough, lead to the end of their conflict. Otherwise, it becomes messier and messier to try and reset it. No more crises. I don't care if they were hinting at an absolute crisis. No. Ending the battle between the two wouldn't be great from a comic standpoint, especially if one is always hoping to attract and bring in new readers, and with something that's become so iconic, near mythic, built into all kinds of other adaptations. It's something that even when people get burnt out of the Joker, it's more likely that they prefer a break than that he's never used again. Although mileage could vary. There are some who wish that these stories would end and that they would just kind of let the stories keep moving and evolving along the lines of letting there be different leads and different characters. However, there are also a significant number of people who don't want that. They want to keep reading about the people that they know and like. And because it's lasted so long, that sentiment can be reflected in younger younger fans as well as older fans. Now, this approach could be viewed as a little bit of a cop-out, but allows you to be in a position where it can matter when it needs to and not when it doesn't. And since it's the kind of industry where you're going to have different people coming in at different points, you have different views as to what's the most exciting story, what's the most interesting, what works the best. That kind of malleability allows for people to play around. What's interesting is that now what question can be answered in so many ways, but the important thing is to answer in a way that allows the story to keep going. To me, there's great poetry. The Joker, a man with seemingly no concrete identity, knowing Batman's but not caring. It also allows space for him to not understand Batman as well as he thinks he does. Because if he thinks that Bruce Wayne doesn't matter, that's not actually accurate, because Bruce Wayne matters a lot. He's a person with family, friends, hopes, dreams, although you'll find some versions where people say Batman is everything. But a villain who thinks that he understands the hero better than he actually does is a strong dynamic. But people have strong opinions about this, and I'm sure you do too. So I pose the question to you as well. The Joker knows who Batman is. Now what? And do you in general prefer when he does or doesn't know? Do you just like seeing that reveal moment over and over, the kind of shocking, oh, he knows? Is it fun and getting to relive that in different settings? Let's chat about it. Talking about these kind of fandom things are fun, or they can be. Also, opinions can change. You never know when there's gonna be a story told from the complete opposite perspective that might just completely blow your mind. Maybe for you this already happened, or maybe it'll happen in the future. Your thoughts, I want to hear them. Please leave them down below. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to discuss comments with me. I always appreciate it. Please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe. There'll be more videos coming soon. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.